So you mentioned Masaan. So let's talk about one of my favorite scenes from Masaan, which is when Richa Chadda's character and Sanjay Mishra's character come back home after their first visit to the police station, where Richa Chadda serves food to Sanjay Mishra. And I feel dramatically that was one of the most impactful scene because it was so realistic and holding on to the shots where Sanjay Mishra is breaking down off screen and we see Richa Chadda's character. So I just want to know your process of editing that scene and how it started and how different was the first cut as compared to the final product we have seen.
So that scene was Neeraj had pretty much thought like a very, I don't know if you watched a lot of Michael Haneke films,
Mm-hmm.
but like if you see Michael Haneke films, it was a scene from Cache, which was like a which sort of influenced us in a massive way in how we're gonna approach that scene.
Okay.
And it was like the way it was shot, it was intentional ki there's gonna be no cuts, no massive cuts, no like this one. There's almost like a looming terror
Hmm.
of like what will happen, when are they gonna have that moment of breaking point where the father will discuss, because till then you had the cop station, you had the bus ride, you entered you, and it's like the beauty of that scene is ki they come back home and she's back to the kitchen and she's
Hmm.
back to making something, and that like she is
Yeah.
back to her
Yeah. Yeah.
reality and she's
Mm-hmm.
like back to this one. So that's the, and he's again like a man who's sitting, she's coming and
Hmm.
she's giving him full khana one after
Hmm.
another. So that scene, the way it was constructed was pretty much how it was, like what you see. What we had done was there was a lot more stuff that was happening within the scene. Like
Okay.
first she's watching the TV and she's watching the TV very blindly and he's looking at her. So there was, in the initial cut we had like a lot of build up to them staring.
Hmm.
Like she is obviously knows ki her father is
Hmm.
staring, but she's just trying to avoid, wanting to
Huh.
avoid that confrontation where there will be something that will be said, and
Hmm.
the humiliation is sort of getting to her. But the problem is the house is so small, you can't even go somewhere
Hmm.
else. It's like, where do you go? That kind of
Hmm.
a feeling. So that aspect of that father coming in and hitting her
Hmm.
was like always decided as one single shot. It almost like a, the audience was put in a perspective. They were like watching the family in a perspective. So it was like the audience point of view all of a sudden was a very straight audience
Hmm.
point of view. It wasn't going into characters point of view. If
Point.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
notice that the way the scene is shot,
Sure.
it is like a very straight audience point of view.
Yes.
The
Yes.
camera is just
Hmm.
static there, and it's not, which is the same thing which you have done later on when she enters the guy's house at the end of the
Huh. Huh.
film,
We stay
just
outside.
before going to, so we stay outside. So it's,
Yeah.
this was one of those moments where we just saw the audience's point
Hmm.
of view, and we are not going into character, like not cutting to a close, not
Hmm.
cutting to a right shot or
Hmm.
something to
Hmm.
explain ki this is through the character, trying to create just unnecessary energy. So thought wise it was like how it was shot. Then what we did was ki as we got into much more finer and finer cut, it kept on decreasing in terms of this one. So we got a little bit more specific about like ki, okay, we want like there'll be rain in the when it was shot, obviously there was no rain, there was
Hmm.
no rain or
Yeah.
something. So that
It's
was something that we created on the sound.
sound.
And even his crying, that was also added in the sound, that wasn't
Okay.
taken there, that
Huh.
was
Huh. Huh.
added later, because that was obviously thought about ki actually it will be nice if he goes and
Hmm.
like he's crying. But that was something that
Hmm.
was thought about. While this one also ki after he hits her, he is
Hmm.
also repenting.
Hmm.
So there's like he also doesn't want to do that, but like he's helpless as to the society and the whatever the judgments on the society that will come with it. So it's sort of everything is affecting him mentally. So that like him crying was also something later added, but the
Okay.
idea was just to get into the audience's point of view.
Okay, so you mentioned over here that the sound of the rain and the sound of Sanjay Mishra's
Huh.
breaking down was created afterwards. So while you are editing
Hmm.
the film, there is a lot of
Hmm.
things will change when the soundscape is added. So how much of
Yeah.
that is in your mind while cutting the film that okay, this is something that can get elevated because of sound or certain things?
Everything,
Okay.
everything. We have like, I do like a very detailed sound design myself, even on the edit table. So
Okay.
like because I'm generally if I'm doing a screening for a film,
Hmm.
it has to be perfect in terms of like it's almost like you are going to watch a film hopefully, like obviously I know it will the final mix and everything, but when I'm showing my offline also, I prefer in a like the sound to be such ki it doesn't hinder in your watching experience at
Ah.
any level. Like I, even if someone, like I take my mom also or something, like I know she will get little bit like rough because of the rough sound at times, but at least when she's watching in a flow, it won't affect her. She will just watch seamlessly in the story. So whatever that sound needs to be put, I just put it
Mhm.
at the like at the edit time, and there's
Mhm.
something that's specific, like if this sound needs to be there. Some basic sounds, like I even put the basic sounds also. I even put like a basic framework की गाड़ी चल रही है तो गाड़ी का भी पीछे में एक बैक लोअर बन जाएगा.
हाँ.
मतलब we do a very detailed sound design.
Okay.
Even like in Masaan, we had a very detailed sound design. So that whole rain and all, even in offline, we had put it.
Okay.
So we knew. Even Pankaj Sanjay Mishra crying also, that was also recorded. Needed got it recorded from WhatsApp, and then we had put it
Okay.
on the offline.
हाँ
So
हाँ.
just to give you that experience while watching, in even in offline, you get all the cues, everything there. So
Mhm.
then you later on, it's like when you go into the sound, it will just go higher only
हाँ.
once everything comes together, and the sound designer will coming in and throwing his own ideas
Mhm.
or her own ideas, that will take the film much more higher than what already you have.
Okay. Perfect. So next thing is that I feel like I've read it a lot of times that a film is written three times. Once on the writing table, once on
Hmm.
the production stage, and then again the editor writes the final film which we will see. So there must be
Hmm.
a lot of you need to fix a lot of things in the post production. So
Hmm.
sometimes, as you have mentioned in your earlier interview, that
Hmm.
while shooting Masan, you were editing at that time, and that's why you were
Hmm.
able to fix the scene where Vicky Kaushal's character meets Shweta Tripathi's character. So what if you
Hmm.
don't have that option? What if you have gotten the footage and people don't have the budget to go and reshoot it? Are there any incidents where you have to fix something in the post production, like an actor's performance or a certain
Hmm.
impact of a certain scene or overall film?
Actually, I've done a lot of that. The only problem is ki, like a lot of films where uh, so recently, like they're, I'll tell you what exactly. So in just to give you example of
Mm-hmm.
Masan mein there was a lot of stuff which wasn't like, especially like them jumping in the river,
Huh.
and every time they go in to take the sikka out,
Huh, huh,
the
huh.
kids whenever they go inside to take the sikka out, that initially what it was shot was ki we had like a sort of a feeling ki these guys jump, and then we go underwater,
Hmm.
and from underwater they come and we you show them putting the coins on this one on the parapet or
Hmm.
whatever. So a lot of like while shooting they had shot thinking ki we'll just need two of those segments or whatever.
Huh.
So a lot of times I have ended up repeating those
Okay.
similar things.
Huh, huh,
So
huh.
which you will notice if you are looking at detail, like even the kid's expression, the kid had a massive issue when we were shooting. He
Hmm.
had a massive issue of blinking,
Okay.
because in front of camera what happened was he, off camera he was an amazing kid, but
Huh.
when it came to camera and suddenly gadgets being there, he would blink a lot. So a lot of times we have used the same reaction again at
Ah.
different place,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
at like same reaction. So the using the same reaction, same smile, same something, that we do a lot in terms of the edit.
Okay.
Even like even structurally a lot of things we sort of do with uh thankfully matlab, when you're working on a bigger film you generally have enough footage,
Hmm.
and you have they have done like massive coverage anyways. It's the smaller films where you sort of like ki, try to figure ki, oh actually they haven't shot this,
Hmm.
and now how do we figure to tell. So that's when a lot of times like a lot of times like a voiceover comes into the place.
Huh, huh.
Like there's a film which I was just sort of helping out with, was Zoya Factor, which I just
Huh,
sort
huh.
of, there was someone else, a friend of mine was editing, and I was just helping out. And on that film, it was like there was a slight issue with the opening of the film,
Hmm.
and the way it sort of picks up and the way it opens up. And what we had to do was we had to take up. So there was this one footage which was never thought about ki taken in a way of like this ball being hit, and it's a cricket shot. So I created this whole thing of like repeating the same shot again and again. Like We
Okay.
reversed the shot and reversed it. So
Okay.
it felt like the batsman is hitting the shot,
Huh.
the ball is getting caught, and then again we rewind it and we
Hmm.
show it. Of course, we put in a voiceover saying ki
Huh.
what we were trying to communicate. As long as the thought process can come across in
Hmm.
what you are trying to say,
Hmm.
then it's sorted.
Hmm.
Otherwise, like sometimes you do need to go out and shoot, but mostly like if the budget doesn't allow, you sort of start trying to figure ki how can you tell that narrative without getting
Hmm.
disturbing anything or without shooting.
Okay. So you said that you use the same shots and fix a certain thing in a
Yeah,
certain film. So
yeah,
this no one will ever realize this because it's done
yeah,
nicely. So
yeah,
editing is a very invisible art, and
yeah.
sometimes the editor also becomes very invisible. But for a
Hmm.
certain filmmaker like Edgar Wright, his editing style is
Hmm.
very visible. So what do you think about that? Like, I know it's a filmmaker's choice, but still, what are your thoughts on?
As in, see, Edgar Wright is a like a for me, Edgar Wright, Christopher Nolan, all these guys are like really amazing editors on paper.
Huh.
So when you read their scripts, if you pick up any Edgar Wright script, if you
Hmm.
pick up any Nolan script,
Hmm.
there's so much editing that has happened on the paper. It's insane. Like they are so meticulous in terms of every beat, every cut, every movement that it actually the editor has to really elevate the experience
Huh.
of him coming in. Like when a Lee Smith works on a Christopher Nolan film, he really takes the position to a higher. Matlab,
Hmm.
of course, like he writes it very detailed, but after a point, even in Inception, you can't figure ki what will
Huh.
happen, what will go with what music, what will work, or Interstellar, or
Hmm.
whichever these films are, or even Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright writes extremely detailed scripts,
Hmm.
extremely detailed. But however detail you write, however edit like friendly sort of scripts you write, there will be always the job of the editor. Like David Driver has to be constructed on the edit. You
Hmm.
can't get those chase sequences. Nobody, you can
Yeah.
write as much as detailed on the paper,
Hmm.
but actually when
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
go to shoot, there'll be something else that will come,
Hmm.
and the energy has to be created with that
Okay.
instead of what is there. So I don't have like the film. What your question was, ki what is the editing being an invisible art? I don't think it works like that. These are all terms which are largely which have been started by saying ki editing should be an invisible art. There's nothing like the whole process should be an invisible art.
Ah.
That's the whole beauty of filmmaking, is the whole process. Like
Hmm.
you are watching a film, you are sucked into everything
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
terms of. So if that film works for you, then everything is an invisible art for you,
Hmm. Hmm.
because that characters work for you. When you watch Baby Driver or when you watch Scott Pilgrim,
Hmm.
you love the characters,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
into the journey of characters.
Hmm.
The edit is an extra perk in terms of like how he is stylistically
Stylized.
shown
Yeah. Yeah.
something.
Huh.
Yeah, stylistically shown something, and that is helping to elevate the narrative.
Hmm.
That is not like it's for you, because you are as an intellectual, you are thinking about it ki, oh, how beautifully it cut.
Hmm.
But that's the style he went with while writing, and
Huh.
that's what he went to achieve.
Hmm.
So for him, that was the style he was trying to achieve. He
Hmm.
wasn't looking for whether the edit will be shown or invisible art will be shown.
Hmm. Hmm.
He was just going to tell his narrative in the strongest possible manner. So
Okay.
that's the only thing that you need to sort of figure when
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
are doing that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
matlab, that to individual film.
huh. So, you have worked with a bunch of different directors, and
Yeah.
is there like sometimes you take a decision from your point of view, and the director
Hmm.
doesn't agree to that. So, does that happen that
Hmm.
negotiating with a director, does that become
Huh.
difficult sometimes?
No, actually, I've never had that kind of an experience, because I let like if sometimes we have like a place where I'm saying something and the director doesn't agree, I
Hmm.
let it breathe for some time. Like
Okay.
when I just to again go back to that poetry writing example,
Hmm.
it's like it's something which I told Zoya like when I met her just after the shoot only.
Hmm.
I said, ki, what do you think of this? We don't need to change anything,
Hmm.
but what do you think of this idea? So for her, because she written the script, it takes a little bit of a time. Ki, oh yeah, actually that makes sense. For that
Hmm.
realization, I need to see. I am saying ki, I always take it ki I also don't know. I am also trying. So it's
Ah.
nothing like ki I know my game
Hmm.
better than you, or you know my game better than yourself. So it's not a competition. It's the
Huh.
film is bigger than all of us.
Hmm.
So the film should work, the thought should work,
Hmm.
the story should work, the narrative should work. That's the beauty. That's the basic core thing that you want to apply. So when I'm trying to change something, the idea is not to impose ki this is needs to be changed. Otherwise, I'm leaving.
Hmm.
The idea is to sort of make the other person understand, because that person has invested that much time. So you have to understand, if I would invest 3 years writing a script, I would also be very emotional
Yeah.
about every beat of
Yeah.
it. And
Uh-huh.
when it comes to another person coming and saying कि नहीं नहीं इसको हटा के ऐसे बोल,
Hmm.
so I need to respect that aspect for a
Hmm.
director or a writer, to
Hmm.
understand where is that person coming from when he was writing or she was writing, and when I'm suggesting that, how should I suggest that? So it's more of a matter of making other person understand. It's, for me, it's not about arguing, it's about more just like seeing the process with the director, making them understand. And if sometimes they feel like very strongly, then you let it breathe
Hmm.
till your first screening happens for like a very basic audience, because that's your true judgment in terms of everything. That's the first time you will suddenly see all
Huh.
problems surfacing, all problems,
Hmm.
things that you were
Hmm.
discussed or whatever, it will all surface it out.
Hmm.
So if something that you had suggested which director wasn't willing to, if that is felt by people across the board, then it will come out, and then
Hmm.
suddenly that aspect will be clear. And something which I have suggested which the director agreed but it actually wasn't good for the film, so people will suggest something that will bring to, then we'll actually end up bringing back something also.
Huh.
So there are things both ways that happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to be open. Like, for me, it's like a very pure process of just being open and letting it sink in and letting it breathe, and seeing it just purely as like you are just working towards of making a better film, not about
Hmm.
like doing anything with
Winning.
your egos or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about a competition with
Huh. Huh. Huh.
anyone trying to show who's
Hmm.
better. It's just the keeping the honesty of the film alive.
Hmm. Okay, so when a film is made, the vision of the film is the director's vision, and every other
Hmm.
artist joins and elevates the film overall. So, as an editor,
Hmm.
what is your voice in the films you cut?
My voice, it will be, see, my voice should change with film to film. That's
Okay,
one thing.
okay.
It can't be like I don't believe in like having a singular voice, like yeah, I have some trademark which I'm
Hmm.
trying to follow, okay, I will cut it like this. Or
Hmm.
I feel like my voice is best if the film works for
Hmm.
what it is, and if you don't like sort of question any sort of problems in terms of like oh, this scene could have been there,
Hmm.
actually it would have worked much more emotionally. Like again, like Gully Boy, something like very simple, like the last song which comes, the train song,
Hmm.
that was actually that was actually placed somewhere else in the script.
Oh.
And it was a call which I suddenly felt like why do we have this scene with this song right after he's won the rap battle round? Why
Huh.
don't we shift that whole song? Because we had shot that other part of the song where he goes onto the stage and
Hmm.
shouts and there's a crowd and all. That was what was actually the real end of the film, was that much
Okay.
only, him
Uh-huh.
walking into the stage, everything. But when we actually moved the song late at the end,
Huh.
suddenly it just came together fully, and we
Uh.
added that last bit to the song, so
Hmm.
it made like much more sense in overall, and made it much more compact.
Hmm.
Because then you because what was happening was the graph was going up and down
Hmm.
in terms of this one. So for me, the voice has to be individually to each film, and the film should work for what you're watching. If I'm able to deliver on the experience that you are watching that
Hmm.
film, that is what my job is in terms of heighten or
Nice.
elevating. Because I can't have like a trademark sort of a,
Huh.
because at the end of the day, I'm in the service of the story, I'm not
Hmm.
in the service of anyone else. So
Nice.
the story should work, the film should work, the character should work,
Hmm.
and the rhythm should work. That if that works, that pretty much that film has justice done justice
Hmm.
to anyone who's watching it.
Okay. What a beautiful thing. So,
Mm.
this will my last question is that when you started, you must have made a lot of mistakes, and now with a
Yeah.
lot of experience, how do you judge a well-edited film and a badly edited film? And what are the few things we can, like, is it just comes with practice, or are there few things which we can do as an editor or person who's just starting out can do to make sure he's serving to the film in the bestest way possible?
Hmm. Uh, See, of course, like it's very hard to pinpoint such things, because then you are getting like very analytical with the edit, and I feel like every story has to be dealt in a different manner with
Hmm.
different care, sort of care, to
Hmm.
understand what what is better in that film. But at the core level, when I look at a film or an edit now, or even like what I see to it, ki, what is it trying to say to me? And I actually don't see it ki first, and the first instinct, I'm not even looking at the edit. I'm just seeing the film for what it is. It's the
Huh.
story, it's the character. I'm just watching as a layman. I don't
Okay.
want to get so technical ki I'm watching right from the top. I'm watching a film and I
Hmm.
see to it ki whether the structure is engaging, whether the beats are engaging. If the story is exciting, that is why I've come to the theater to watch it.
Ah.
Now, whether it like delivers on the story of what it's mentioning or what it's talking about, that is the challenge. And if I
Okay.
feel like, oh no, actually they could have done this, they could have shifted some portion there,
Hmm.
and that could have elevated. If the rhythm overall feels like it thoda sa like honky dory,
Hmm.
ki you are sort of like ki it's going up and down and you
Hmm.
don't know what exactly, that's when you sort of see. But a like a badly edited film can also really work for you because
Hmm.
of the emotion.
Hmm.
So there is nothing called like a bad edit per se, in terms of there's all everything is very subjective in these kind of things,
Okay.
and there is always that process. Now when I say that subjective, I'm not denying the fact that there can't be a bad edit.
Hmm.
Like that is not the leeway to give ki I can do a bad edit and call it like ki it is subjective, I like
Hmm.
that edit.
Hmm.
That is, of course, that's the thing. But are you doing justice to the story?
Hmm.
If the edit is doing justice to the story, that means it's a good edit for me. Even if it's a bad edit, in terms of like a lot of
Hmm.
times there'll be like jarring cuts, but if
Hmm.
that's helping the emotion, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's about emotion, it's about the service of your story, it's
Hmm.
about your characters, and
Hmm.
that's what matters. And if the film edit or anything else, any department is doing justice to that, that every that department, it works for me completely, and
Hmm.
that is all right. Even if like in the classical terms it's considered to be bad, like uh, close up say you shouldn't go into like a long shot say you
Huh.
shouldn't go into a wide से close up में गए,
Huh.
या long shot से close up में गए, but close up से mid shot में मत जाओ,
Hmm.
mid shot से close up में गए तो कैसा लगेगा.
Hmm.
So those kind of like technical terms and all, if like I don't give a damn about in terms of while watching it, while I am connected with the emotion and it
Huh.
maintains the consistency, then I'm okay with it.
Hmm.
Because I have to see ki what is the story trying to serve the purpose for,
Hmm.
who is it being made for, what is it. Like I'm not gonna question a certain film which is a very massy film of like trying to a pot boiler, massy pot
Hmm.
boiler, like a your usual 4 5 stars studded
Huh.
drama like
Huh.
these like funny movies or whatever.
Hmm.
Those films I wouldn't question in terms of what they're trying to. I'm gonna see ki, am I getting the experience what they want me to get on
Okay.
that. If I'm
Hmm.
questioning edit and all that in that experience, that means the film has a problem.
Okay. So if you're
So
going
that's how
into
I
the
look at it.
analysis side while watching the film, then there is an issue.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So on that note, thank you so much, sir, for joining us and
Thank you.
letting us know what all goes behind the final film you see. And I hope you had fun. And thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking time out for this.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Bye bye.
Yes, thank you, Vidar. Bye.